Oh, she's a killer queen, gunpowder gelatine, dynamite with a laser beam, guaranteed to blow your mind anytime. That's right, my friends, in this week's episode of Diamond is Unbreakable, Yoshikage Kira decides to finally unveil his stand, the Killer Queen. Being a very big fan of Queen made me really appreciate this episode. I don't like the fact that in the subtitles they call it Deadly Queen when you can quite literally hear him say Killer Queen, but that's for copyright purposes. Use your ears, don't always use your eyes, and you'll be able to see the true magic of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. And this week's episode was equally disturbing as it was equally hilarious. It can be really difficult to pull off a story that is both really sickening and really funny at the same time, but the JoJo series always manages to do that. And in this week's episode, we finally got to spend some time with Morio's resident serial killer, Yoshikage Kira, who essentially just wants to live a normal, quiet life, as long as that life involves the severed hands of women that he considers his own girlfriends. The episode opened up with a lot of disturbing imagery, just Kira hanging out at his house, having breakfast with a severed hand, and then going about his normal day, working and going to lunch, and even picking out a sandwich for lunch by using the severed hand of a woman that he considers his very own girlfriend. The scene where he's actually using the hand to touch another sandwich and accidentally poking through the bread is so fucking twisted and messed up, especially because the sauce that's on that sandwich gets on that hand, and of course he starts to lick it off himself. He then decides to go to the park so that he can have a nice view to look at as he eats his lunch in a really sick and twisted way. He's actually holding the hand in his hand, while that severed hand is holding the sandwich as he eats it. It's so fucked up and twisted that it is almost funny, but it's when Shigechi and Okuyas and Josuke get involved that things start to get really insane. You see, Shigechi actually just came from the same restaurant that Kira came from, and he got the same exact sandwich and the same exact bag. And due to this confrontation with this random stray dog, the sandwiches end up getting mixed up, and Shigechi ends up taking the bag that has Kira's sandwich in it. The problem is, this bag also just so happens to have the severed hand of that woman in it as well. So this is when the episode starts to get really funny, because you have Shigechi and Josuke and Okuyas, and they're walking around town with this bag with a severed hand in it, and Kira is following them, trying to figure out how he's going to get this, and the rest of the episode is following him as he goes through all of these tense situations, almost getting caught multiple times. The lengths that he will go to try and get it is just so funny. I mean, he could easily just sort of walk up and grab it and do that, but no, it's not that easy, especially with Josuke and Okuyas there as well. And there's this really great scene where he's like right next to them the whole time, hiding underneath all of this training equipment in a school gymnasium, and they almost get caught multiple times, and eventually he is able to find this, but as he's walking away with the bag, Shigechi notices that he has his sandwich, and he gets really pissed and confronts him about it. This is when the bag opens up, Shigechi sees the hand, and this is when Kira decides to reveal that he indeed does have stand powers. His stand is known as the Killer Queen, and it looks freaking awesome. It looks like a human hybrid and a cat, like, put together. It's just so damn awesome looking, and it's very evident that he is about to kill Shigechi. A lot of people were telling me that his character was going to be important. Now I know why his character is going to be so important. He's one of the first major characters of the series to be killed off by the major villain of the series. It leads me to believe that maybe we'll even see his ghost with Raimi or something. Like, I think that would be something that would be really interesting. But it all ended with him activating his stand and getting ready to kill Shigechi, and I cannot wait to watch next week's episode. So what's the rundown on this week's episode of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, Diamond is Unbreakable? This episode was just so funny and disgusting for so many different reasons. Just all of the crazy shit that Kira was getting himself involved in. He's such a different and unique villain than the other ones that we've seen from the JoJo series. I mean, it all started out with Dio and immortal vampires, and then Dio came back even more powerful as ever. Now we have just a normal human who is a sick and twisted psychopathic serial killer who just so happens to have stand powers as well. And we don't even really get to see what his stand does, aside from the fact that it just takes a humanoid form and looks really freaking badass. but the fact that its name is Killer Queen leads me to believe that it might even have abilities which are related to the lyrics of the song. Like, maybe it's gonna have like a big explosive attack or something. I cannot wait to see this thing in action, because initially I thought that Kira didn't even have a stand power when he was like fighting against Shigechi at the end of the episode, and Shigechi was using his stand to try and grab that bag from him. He thought that something was pulling it, but I figured he couldn't see anything. But then he finally decided to reveal his stand powers, not to mention his entire backstory to Shigechi, knowing that it doesn't really matter what he says at this point, he's gonna kill this kid, and it's gonna have massive repercussions, especially because they are friends with Josuke and Okuya, so everybody's going to get involved here, and I cannot wait to see what this is going to snowball into. What I will say is, this week's episode had me on the edge of my seat the entire time, and it's funny because I almost found myself rooting for Kira. Like, I was like, I really hope he's able to get that hand back, and it's really fucked up that I was thinking that, but you're kind of there with him the entire time. It was a great way to show this character for the first time and to show what he's all about. That and the fact that he's just disgusting. He's a really sick and twisted character, especially because halfway through the episode when he's having lunch at the park, he notices that the severed hand that he has is starting to smell pretty bad. That's typically what happens, apparently, when body parts are lopped off, and he's saying that he's going to break up with this girl, which means he's going to have to get a fresh, brand new hand, which means he's going to have to go on the hunt once again. Such a twisted and disgusting character, and watching this series right after Berserk makes both of these anime series just so freaking fucked up. It really gives me some weird feelings at the end of my Friday when I really want to see something action-packed and kind of lighthearted. But like I said, this episode did a really great job of balancing all the dark elements with a lot of the funny elements, and the fact that Kira was just getting himself into this crazy situation where at the same time, you don't want him to get caught, but you also want him to get caught at the same time so that they can get justice for all of these people who have been killed, especially because this is the killer of Raimi right here, and he is truly a fucked up individual. And this week's episode was entertaining as hell. It was fantastic. So I'm going to give this week's episode right here a 5 out of 5 for everything. The story, the proper introduction of Kira Yoshikage, the great animation, the amazing stylistic of the show, and just all of the characters coming together for this crazy moment. Like, this episode right here encapsulated what is so unique about this freaking season of JoJo. Check it out, JoJo fans. You're definitely going to see something you like. But if any of you did watch this week's episode, make sure to tell me what you thought about it in the comment section below. What did you think about the proper introduction of Kira? Do you think he's a pretty sick and twisted character? I think that's a pretty obvious answer right there. And do you think he's actually going to kill Shigechi? What do you want to see from the rest of Diamond is Unbreakable? Make sure to tell me in the comment section below. Thank you all so much for watching this review. If you guys would like to help support Super Kami Guru 9000, one of the easiest ways to do that is to simply like this video, share it with your friends, and best of all, subscribe to the channel, because we have lots of kick-ass content. Thank you guys again for watching, and as always, stay dandy, baby.